I go by and I live by this rule every day of my life. It's the 30, 60, 90-day rule. But for me, I call it the 30, 60, 90-day rule. And the way I explain it is for me personally, about 3 days of doing something, let's say just working out. After 3 days of working out, you're gaining momentum either up and down. And I think momentum's huge because momentum means movement. So you're either going to momentum down or up after the 3 days. So let's just say you went to the gym for 3 days. Then most likely you're going to go fourth, fifth, and then you're going to continue on.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It is your host once again of Beast Nation. So excited to be here today. I've got an exciting guest. Many people have called me different things. Some call me the Beastmaster, or some call me Brad. But today I am known as the Robin Hood of knowledge because I'm bringing some great information your way. I'm taking it from people that have it, and what I'm doing is I'm sharing it with people that need it the most. Today, I've got the founder of a fantastic coaching program all the way from Massachusetts. We connected on Instagram like so many people do. It's the way people are connecting on social media, but I've got Dana Silvestri. So Dana, welcome to Beast Nation this afternoon.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Absolutely. I'm so excited you're here. I always like to bring other coaches, other trainers into our community to share what they've learned on their journey. You and I had a chance to chat for a little bit, so I know a bit about your story. But before we really dive into what you do and some of your beliefs as it relates to coaching, can you kind of give your backstory as it relates to kind of growing up and the belief system you had that was instilled by your parents and your surroundings of how that's changed as you've moved forward in life?
Yeah. So I grew up in a town 20 minutes north of Boston, and I grew up the middle child in my family. I had an older brother, a younger sister. My younger sister was born deaf, so that was a major driver today. So I really liked to share when I was growing up. I would go to the beach. I would go to the beach and I would look for crabs, and I thought it was like a diamond. I would show everyone there, and that kind of moved on into my older life today. Another example is when I was in elementary school, I would look for grasshoppers. I would bring them to show and tell. And some reason I just loved doing this. And growing up, I grew up with a speech impediment. I grew up in these extra help classes, basically to get my speech on point. And I grew up very quiet. And I never knew why I was so quiet around people. I remember having conversations growing up, and I know it was emotional for me because I still remember it. And people would say, "Hey, why are you so quiet?" And I honestly didn't know. And now I know it was because I had that speaking issue, and I had a fear of being judged about it. So I just wanted to dive into that a little bit. But then eventually I went to high school. I got into sports and stuff because I could really be with a team on the field and whatnot. And I really developed deep and down within me this kind of entrepreneurial lifestyle as a young kid, before high school, actually. Like I would sell gum. And this is when MySpace was out when I was 13, 14 years old. And you weren't allowed to sell gum in high school. So it was kind of funny. I would stick it in my binder, sell it for an extra $1. And people would come to me, and I had a MySpace where they would comment like what kind of candy and gum they wanted. And deep in me, I always had that knack of like giving people what they wanted and making money. And that's just, I don't know where I got that. And then into high school, it went on to like flipping stuff. A big thing I wanted to flip was like TVs on Craigslist. I would do that, flip it for a couple $100s. And a lot of people didn't know why I was doing this and didn't understand that. I didn't really understand, but I knew I had that spirit into me. I had a creative spirit, and I had a hardworking spirit that I always wanted to do.
Gotcha.
And as I got older, like I said, I did sports and whatever. And then my parents and society taught me, you go to high school, you go to college, you get a career, and that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And I didn't have much guidance. I had guidance from them, my family, and that, but I didn't have self-guidance within myself to make decisions as a young kid. So I went to school. I went there for about a year, and I got into a cycle, as a lot of people do, of partying and whatnot. Got into some trouble. I'm just being honest here. And then I ended up transferring to another school. I did well. I remember giving a speech in college once and going up there, and I was stuttering over and over again. This is still in my memory. And I remember I was talking about the fast food place called Five Guys.
Yeah. Sure.
And I said 4 guys because I was so nervous, and everyone just starts laughing at me, and I started stammering and stuttering. And I didn't know where all this came from, all this fear. Maybe it was a lack of prep, but I think that all went back to my internal self-image and state of me with my speech impediment. And also when I played those sports in high school, going back a little bit, I had a lot of anxiety. Like I used to play baseball and I used to be up there batting, and all the way through my head, all I would think about was people watching me. That's all I would think about. And then what do you know? I strike out. And then when I was focused and I was in the moment, I would get a base hit or a double, and I was really good. So that stemmed into college. I graduated college with a business degree in business administration, management, and marketing. And then it was time. It was time for what I've been waiting for my whole life, to get my professional career and, be happy with where I was going, because I've been waiting for this moment. Yeah. So I got my first job, and I remember going to my interview, and they basically said, yeah, you're going to get trained. You're going to go through this process. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. I go in there. They go, we're just throwing you right into the fire. I got no training. I got nothing. They threw me right onto the phones. I think it was the 4th day, and I was in charge of managing like the whole West Coast. And right out of college, no experience. Before that, I did physical labor, like setting up tents and bounce houses and stuff like that. So I have that experience as well of knowing that hard work has really built me. So I went on for 6 months to a year, working 60 hours a week and only getting paid for 40. And, just being told and having faith that it would work out, and this is what I had to do. And then eventually it got to a point that I played mind games with myself, and I pretended that I still liked my job, but I was going in there week by week, and it was soul sucking. Every single day was so soul sucking. I knew it wasn't for me, but I didn't make a change. And I would go in there during the week. On the weekend, I would go out drinking Saturday night until like 3 a.m., wake up feeling horrible, anxiety ridden, watch TV all day, order pizza. And then I would feel better on Tuesday. I would repeat that cycle. And like we all know, Albert Einstein said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So that's why I always say I was going insane.
Sure.
So that's when I finally noticed, like, I needed to make a change. I need to either remove myself from the situation, but what am I going to do? I had no idea. So this is when I started investing in myself. I started off a couple $1,000s into programs. I started reading nice stuff I enjoyed about ebooks, podcasts at the gym. And I really developed this new mindset, a new look at myself. I backed it by habits, routines, and everything else. And I was looking, basically, I had a big issue finding coaches and mentors in my real life. So what a lot of people that are listening, they can go to the internet and don't feel bad investing in yourself. The best investment's in yourself. So I found coaches like Tony Robbins, who most people know, number one business strategist in the nation. Dean Graziosi, he's a best-selling author in sales. And then Bob Proctor is a mindset expert. So I started getting coaching from them. And that's when everything changed. That was about 2 or 3 years ago, and I made these huge changes. And now the goal was to find a way, to do this part-time and then build up branding for myself, which I've been focused on for the last couple of years. And then eventually leave my job to chase my dreams and passion. And, that went on. I did my 8 hours every day. I woke up early, did my 8 hours, and then I would work another 5 hours at night, just building myself out. And that's another thing people have to understand. If you have something that's not in front of you right now, you're going to have to put in the work after hours. You're going to have to put in the work after work. But when you're doing something that you really love and you have a feeling within you in your heart that it's the right thing, it doesn't feel like work. And that's how I knew I was on the right path. So back a couple months ago to the beginning of this year, I was able to leave my full-time position. And now I'm focusing full-time on my coaching. I have 3 clients. And right now I have a huge, huge mastermind event that's going to be announced next week. It's going to come out. The announcement of the date's going to be coming out. And this is going to help people that were in my situation, people that don't write down their goals, and people that, like a lot of people say, first off, some people don't write down their goals at all. And I believe in writing down everything because it gets into your nervous system, which is in your body, and it gets into your subconscious. And that's the whole thing about knowing about the mindset, is know how the subconscious works and know your belief system. So it helps people write down their goals, find out their why, the reason why they're doing things in life, how to save time, how to save money, the one big thing holding you back. So it goes through this whole process that I've used the last couple of years that I dumbed down, as well as the tools that I learned from Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, and Bob Proctor, all into this class that I'm going to share with everyone. And so that's pretty much where I'm at right now. And I had to take that leap of faith, and I'm happy I did.
You brought up, number one, 2 things that I want to kind of really drill into. Number one is the topic of goal setting. because I believe everything great in life really starts with goals. And it's funny because, you're there in Boston, which is where Harvard University is. And there's a study that Harvard did many years ago where they took a large sampling, a group of a couple thousand people, and they asked that group, how many of you here have goals? And about 86% of the people did not raise their hands. The other roughly 14% rose their hands up. So you have 86% of a huge sampling that had no goals. They had dreams, but they didn't have goals. You had roughly 16% that said they had goals. But what was really interesting is they went one step farther and they said, okay, in this group of roughly 16% that say you have goals, how many have actually taken the time to write those goals down on paper? 3%.
Wow.
You've got this huge audience of thousands of people, and only 3% had taken the time to physically write their goals down on a piece of paper. And then what they did is they tracked that group for a number of years, and they went back to the same audience and they asked that same group, how much money have you made? How much money are you making? How much money do you have in the bank? Where's your wealth? And what they found was amazing. And when I saw this, I could not believe it. But the 3% that had taken the time to put their goals in writing out-earned the other 97%, 10x. Not 3 times, not even 6, 10 times the money made in just 3%. And people always complain, so-and-so is making so much money, he's part of the 1%. Well, yeah, the reason he's part of the 1% is probably because he took the time to write down his goals. He's focused. He knows exactly what he wants as an entrepreneur, and he's backing those goals, more importantly, with some action. Because, goals without action are nothing but dreams. Dana, Mark Cuban says that, there's a big difference between being a entrepreneur and being an entrepreneur. And so I think it's so important that people take the time to write down their goals and then obviously put some action behind them. Because the analogy that I always give, because my college training before I went into the oil business and became the CEO of an oil company was really in architecture. And I always tell people, imagine in your mind that you're an architect. And one day you have an idea for a really cool, innovative building. And so you get out your sketch pad and you just make a little sketch of this idea, this building. And, you might put that sketch pad aside for weeks, maybe years pass, and you don't see the sketch. And then one day you're cleaning out your office and you see that sketch pad and it reminds you of that one idea. And you're able to go to your drafting table and sit down like an architect does and come up with a set of blueprints. Then you can take that blueprint, you can give it to a contractor or a developer, and 18 months later, 2 years later, boom, you get a physical building that's now sitting there on the horizon that you can walk up and touch. It's the same thing with goals. You have to back it with action. For the architect, the action was the creation of the blueprint and understanding the steps he had to take to turn that desire, to turn that concept into something that was actually real. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch upon was kind of what I call the leap of faith, turning your back to what must have been the naysayers, the people in your life, like your family, your parents, that said, are you crazy? What are you doing? Quit your job. I'm glad you did, but most people would not do that. And so how did you make the decision to do that? Or what was going through your mind when you finally decided to commit and, as they say, fire the boss, walk away from corporate America and pursue this new journey when probably, I would imagine, most of the people around you, friends, family, are like, are you crazy? You're leaving this great corporate job. You got a 401k, you got healthcare, yada, 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 and you're going down this path of uncertainty. I understand why you did it because you explained why you did, but what was going through your head and what did not prevent you from moving forward, which so many people would not take that next step? They're stuck or they just can't commit.
Yeah, that's a great question. And going off of that, there's so many naysayers, not just my family. They have great input, but a lot of people really don't understand. They only understand what they have done is what I'm trying to say. And anything outside of that comfort zone, it's fair to them. There's a barrier that you have to pass to get the freedom. And a lot of people never pass that barrier at all in their life. And that's what I'm trying to help people do. But going back to my job, I was in the position. I knew since I got into my first job that that's what I wanted to do. I didn't tell anyone that, but I knew I was looking for something deeper. and I worked and I built things and I saved everything I did. I wrote everything down, like you're saying, write everything down. Because even stuff you type out or write down, I've added to my programs. I've added to free material for people. It's all so valuable. If you don't have that base, it's not going to help you. But also for my job, it's a funny story. So I didn't quit my job personally. I was let go. So that's the difference. I want to be transparent here. So it's not like I just told my boss, I'm going home tonight. I'm not going to lie to you guys. So here's the truth. The week before that, I invested. This is a funny story. It's kind of cool. The week before that, I invested in a program. It was about $1,000. It's working on your mindset. I already had a good base about that, but repetition is king. You have to keep repeating things to get it over and over again, because the difference between hearing something and listening. Correct. The more you listen, the more it goes into you, and you can teach people it. So anyways, I invested in a program, and the first thing, as most programs do, you go into a Facebook group, and they say, what's your number one goal? And I said, my number one goal is to leave my 9-to-5 job in the next couple of months. And I've been working on this for so long. And actually, that was the day before. And then the day after, I hop on a Zoom call with my boss, and she goes, unfortunately, all the projects due to the coronavirus have ended. Wow. And no, it wasn't bad. Inside of me, I was like, yes. I was like, yes. I've been waiting for this. I was so excited. Like I talked to my girlfriend and everything after, and it was, and my parents were upset. Yeah. All my friends were like, dude, you're going to be okay, sending me all these messages. And I'm just so excited. Mm-hmm. So that was it. And my plan was to do this the whole time. So it was really, this was my opportunity. And then a month after, I got another job. I was offered a job and I denied it.
Good for
you. Especially with, I think at that point there was 20 million people laid off at that point from the coronavirus. And I was offered a job. It was a good paying job, about the same I was making before. And I just told them, and I said, I gotta go with my heart. I know what I want to do. I've worked so hard to get here. I don't want to put myself back in that cycle I was talking about. Right. So I denied that. And then ever since, everything took off after that. And I'm so happy I didn't take that opportunity, because that's going back to fear. A lot of people would have jumped on that logically.
Oh, sure.
Logically, logically, I just got let go, and it's
the best thing that ever happened.
That's a safe thing to do, is take that job. No, not for me. And that's a huge decision. So I'm trying to tell people, and my friends, my family, anyone that's listening, sometimes the logical decision is not the one that's going to make sense. Sometimes you have to go with your gut feeling, and in the end, the breadcrumbs will connect. And you can't see that until you look back in hindsight. And I put out a pretty cool video about Steve Harvey saying sometimes you just have to jump. Everyone has to jump to be successful. And that's one of my favorite clips. And it's basically saying everyone has to do that jump. Sometimes your parachute's not going to open, and I guarantee it's not going to open your first time. But if you keep trying and trying, not just trying the same thing, but taking new approaches, your parachute's going to open, and then you're going to soar by other people on your journey.
Sure.
And that I think that's so powerful. But that's what just been going through my head. And like I've worked countless and countless hours to develop this, and I just knew it's what I had to do, and it turned out to be the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing that you started the process, but the most important is I sense it in your voice, and I sense it in your level of commitment to yourself, is you haven't given up on the dream. And that's one thing that unfortunately so many people do, is they get started down the path of doing something, and then they either get a roadblock, or there's an obstacle, or it doesn't work out the way they want it to. And what do? They retreat. They go to a place of comfort. And that's just natural human nature, is people retreat to a place of comfort, to quote, what they know. What you knew is, I got to get another job, right? You were offered another job. But what you did is you faced your fear, and you really used that as an incentive to move yourself forward. And the one thing that I've learned as an entrepreneur, whether it was in building my oil company or whether it was in building my coaching business to where it is today, is you have to do what I call going along in the same direction, right? It's mastery. It's, why is Michael Jordan one of the best basketball players that's ever played for the NBA? It's because the mastery. I mean, he sits there all day long just shooting free throws. Same thing with Tiger Woods. I mean, as good as he is, why does he still go to the driving range every day and hit 200 golf balls or make 1,000 6-foot putts? It's because of the mastery. And a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand that to master something, you have to do it through repetition. It's just like coaching. People always ask me, how much you charge by the hour? And I just laugh and I say, you think you can change in an hour? Man, if you can, you're like the first dude I've ever met in the millions of people I've talked to. Nobody can change in an hour. As a result, I don't charge by the hour. I charge over a 6-month coaching program because it's going to take a period of time for me to work on your habits, work on your beliefs, and literally transform you over that coaching period. And if you want to enroll in a higher coaching program, we can look at a full year together. But, it's really all about the habits and the change of habits. I was a student of Stephen Covey, who wrote the book, The 7 Habits. And what he talks about is what he calls the whole person theory. And this is a concept that Covey developed that said people are made up basically of 4 things: a heart, a spirit, a soul, and a physical body. And each one of those things drives a different component that makes you human. Obviously, your body is your physical body. Obviously, your mind is your mind. But then you've got a soul, which is what you're passionate about, what you really love doing. And imagine, for example, that you're Phil Jackson and you're coaching the LA Lakers, and you got this great phenom who's just an amazing basketball player that has skills beyond anything you've ever seen, but he has absolutely no passion to be part of a team. He's not going to be a good team member for the LA Lakers unless the coach knows how to push the right buttons and nurture that, so that all of a sudden this kid starts to realize the benefit of being part of a team, and how he can contribute to that team, and how he can care for his fellow teammates, where it's no longer about me, the star, it's about me adding to the team and making the team better so that we can go on and become an NBA championship team. And that's, I think, what made Michael Jordan so great. Not that he was just a great gifted player, but he also contributed to the culture of the team and really lifted all of the other players up around him. Because I think when you really start to study Stephen Covey and understand that whole person theory, it makes you, number one, a better coach, because you realize I can't just coach the person on their mind. I've got to coach them on their body. I've got to coach them on their spirit. I've got to coach them on their soul, so they've got passion, so that they really do want to change. It's funny because I've been around a lot of big time thought leaders over the course of my professional career, and I've either worked alongside or I've heard from people like, Kevin O'Leary, Irving Magic Johnson, George W. Bush, Rudy Rudiger, Joe Namath, Fran Tarkenton. And so by taking kind of the habits and the beliefs from all of these people, what I've learned is kind of what I call the secrets to success. Their habits and their beliefs are very different than, quote, most other people's. But what I learned from most all of those people is big time thinkers, big time people that accomplish big things in life, they don't listen to their feelings. Because if you listen to your feelings, you start getting that self-doubt and those limiting beliefs that are part of your subconscious, right? And you understand this because you invested in coaching, you've read the books, and you're now moving forward and you're working with people, helping them with this process. But I explain to people that think of your mind like a garden, right? You got weeds and you got towering oaks. And every time a thought enters your mind that's holding you back, you got to stop and say, it's time to start weeding the garden, and you got to remove that thought and replace it with a positive thought, because the good thing is your mind can only focus on one thought at any given time, right? And so you want to understand that as part of how you move forward in life and how you excel, so that you can step into something that you're more passionate about. One thing I want to ask, Dana, is in the relationship you have with the people you're coaching, when somebody comes to you and said, hey, I'm really stuck, or I really have this goal, and I really am held back, I'm not moving forward, what are some of the things that you do kind of in your processes of helping people overcome that? I saw one on one of the posts you made, which was the 30, 60, 90 day, which I thought was really, really great. But can you maybe explain what that 30, 60, 90 day is kind of one of your processes? Because I thought that was so neat. And then certainly if you want to share another, you can go into another as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I go by and I live by this rule every day of my life. It's the 30, 60, 90 day rule. But for me, I call it the 30, 60, 90 day rule. And the way I explain it is, for me personally, about 3 days of doing something, let's say just working out. After 3 days of working out, you're gaining momentum either up and down. And I think momentum's huge, because momentum means movement. So you're either going to momentum down or up after the 3 days. So let's just say you went to the gym for 3 days. Then most likely you're going to go fourth, fifth, and then you're going to continue on. A lot of people think that the habit is established after 21 days. That's the number I hear everywhere. After 21 days, my habit's good. It's going to be a lifestyle at then. That's wrong. And that's what I'm trying to tell people. So the next step I have is 30 days. And that's when you're used to it. You're used to going to the gym. You have a habit of going, whatever your goal is, 4 or 5 times a week, and you commit to it with discipline. Discipline's giving yourself a command and following it. So you're establishing discipline. Then after that is 60 days. And then at that point of 2 months, it's kind of systematic. You don't think about it. It's normal. It's becoming a part of you. Your inner self-image isn't completely changed yet, but it's changing, and you're feeling that. You're seeing the benefits, you're seeing the results. People around you are seeing you act different, you're having more energy, and you're starting to like it. At first, a lot of people don't like working out. Me, I've been working out for 6 years, and not to be braggadocious, but I love it now because it releases endorphins and serotonin and makes you feel good, and it makes me be more productive through the day. But anyways, so 60 days, it's systematic, and then 90 days, it's a lifestyle. That's when you go to your family, you talk about it, it's part of you, you're posting about it, you're helping your friends out, you're sharing with them, maybe you're in some groups about it, maybe even doing podcasts about it. And then the only thing is, after that 90 days, if you don't remain with that discipline and momentum and awareness and that mastery, as you mentioned, you can lose it all. And you'll have to start all the way over again. An example of that is I've gone 4 days without working out, and then all these thoughts the thoughts that you were saying start coming back into your head. Hey, dude, order a pizza, watch TV. Oh yeah, that sounds good. And then if you cave on that, you're programming your mind in those pathways to do that. So what the trick is, and this is why I love mindset and I love the brain and neuroplasticity, is you have to learn how to change your inner self-image. And like Bob Proctor calls it a paradigm. And that certain paradigm makes you a certain type of person, how you view yourself. And that can change. A lot of people don't know that. And 95% of your thoughts throughout the day are subconscious. They come through, you're not consciously thinking about it, and 5% are consciously. So that's a huge, huge thing that a lot of people don't know. And the example I give in that post, the 30, 60, 90 day rule is, okay, someone wants to work out, just show up at the gym. If you're having issues, you don't have to go there and go for an hour and a half or compete with that guy on Instagram that's a fitness star. Just drive there and work out for 5 minutes. And get in that habit, do that 5 times a week. And then once you get that down, you have momentum. Add another 10 minutes, as I said, add another 10 minutes the next week, another 10 minutes the next week. And then before you know it, that's all going to compound. A lot of people think compounding is just a part of investing in stocks. That's not true. Compounding is a part of life. It's a part of investing in your habits and routines that all adds up. And I swear you can't see it until later. And you're going to see the results, and then you're going to be so excited, and then you're going to share people. And then that ripple effect goes on. And that's I think a huge part of humanity is sharing with people and sharing that ripple effect in a positive way, because it can be negative as well. So that's just taking something small and cutting it up into smaller pieces. It's the same thing if you're in a corporate job and you're a manager and you go up to someone and say, Billy's my employee. And I tell Billy to do this huge project that takes 3 months and, get it to me in 2 months. He's going to be overwhelmed. He's going to be stressed. And then he's probably most likely not going to get anything done and want to think about quitting. Right. So what you do is, instead of giving him the whole project, that's a 3-month project. Yeah. Hey, this week I want you to do this. This week I want you to do this. This week, this is the end goal. You have that communication factor. Then I guarantee it, by the end of that 3 months, that project's going to be done, and it's going to be done in a good fashion. It's not going to be put together last second with stress and overwhelming, because when you're stressed out, your brain's not working properly. The blood flow is not in your prefrontal cortex anymore. It's getting relayed to other factors, and your reptilian brain kicks in. It goes to your amygdala and your limbic system, which is your fight and flight. And that all kicks in. So that's the magic behind knowing the brain chemistry behind it, is because once you know that, you can kind of take control of your life. And that's basically my viewpoint on the habit with the 30, 60, 90 day rule. Another big thing that we've talked about is just writing everything down, like you said. And a big thing with goals is, my issue was I was setting other people's goals. I wasn't setting my own goals. And I didn't know that. I was setting goals based on what I was told, what I thought I was capable of being. So the day I sat down and used the process that I'm sharing with people is the day everything changed. I set goals based on what I wanted. And, they were realistic, but they were based on timelines. And they were based on a good goal. And this is, maybe some people would disagree with this. A good goal is something you don't know how to do. And think about that for a second. Yeah. I told that to someone, they go, what are you, crazy? a good goal is something you don't know how to do. I'm talking about the big ones, because that implies growth. That implies that you have to go out there, you have to work with people and stem to do something. If you know how to, obviously you have short-term goals that are, you know, you're doing consecutive all the time. You're doing those habits all the time. But I'm talking about the big ones. It's something that implies growth. So that's my outlook on that. And that's when everything changed, is when I found out my why. I found out the reason why I was doing that. I set my own goals with that process, with those timelines, and everything else fell together. And writing it down, like you said, it's a lot of people don't do it. A lot of people maybe go on their computer and type it out. I'm not one to judge, but I promise you, and you can agree, the progress I've seen is amazing, and it does take hard work. You can't just write stuff down and then expect it to get done.
Yeah, no, you have to definitely back it with some action. And, you know, you touched on something that I thought was also very, very important, which is the paradigm. And it's basically getting your mind into a different state. When I first heard this, I was like, there's no way. And then I heard it from another person, and I'm like, well, now that I've heard it from two people, maybe there's some truth to it. And then I finally heard it from a third person that actually had worked with Tony Robbins. And what people don't understand is Tony Robbins actually has a ritual every time before he goes out on stage. And it's amazing, because what he wants to do is he wants to change his frame of mind and his paradigm so that when he's out on stage, he is on fire. And so every time Tony Robbins goes out on stage off somewhere, there's one of these small little trampolines. And he'll just get on that trampoline and he'll start bouncing up and down, just chanting to himself. And he's just jumping up and down. And everybody that works for Tony Robbins knows you do not disturb Tony when he's on the trampoline. He's in his zone. He's just up and down, just jumping on the trampoline. He's chanting to himself. And then literally what he'll do is he'll hop off that trampoline, spin around in 3 circles, pump himself on the chest, just like they did, of course, in the movie, right? Wolf of Wall Street, boom, and then just charges out on the stage. But think about the energy that he's built up in those 5 minutes, jumping up and down, chanting, and then circling 3 times and pounding himself on the chest. When he goes out on the stage, there's a complete paradigm shift. Yep. I mean, he is on fire, right? He's Tony Robbins. But that's a ritual. That's why Tony Robbins is Tony Robbins, and that's why people pay thousands of dollars and he's able to pack stadiums like Grant Cardone, right? I don't know if Grant has a similar ritual, but I definitely believe that rituals are important. You know, when you look at a lot of the athletes, a lot of the professional athletes had certain rituals. There was a famous pitcher, Mark the Bird Fidrich, that would always sit there and talk to the baseball before he pitched. And you can watch this on TV. People don't realize this. What's he doing? He's talking to the baseball. That's his ritual. He's, you know, whatever he's talking about, I don't know, but that was his thing. And I believe that certain rituals are very, very important, because what it does, like you said, is it gets your mind straight. It gets you focused. You know that you're going out to do this and you've only got one shot at doing it. You've got to bring your A game. You've got to energize and really charge these people up. And if you're not charged up yourself, boom, I mean, you know, you're not going to engage. It was really interesting. One of the coaches that I work with and that I love is Coach Michael Burt. I don't know if you know Coach Michael Burt. He's out of Tennessee. And he was actually sharing a story about Lady Gaga. And he said he was actually at a Lady Gaga concert. And there she was. She's on stage. And everybody knew that she wasn't feeling good that day. And there was rumors that she was actually thinking about canceling the concert. But being the pro she was up there on stage giving it her all. And right in the middle of the song, she turned around and literally she threw up right there on stage. And then she turned right back around, and literally it's like as if she didn't miss a beat, the show continued. And Coach Burt said, now that's sexy. That's a girl that didn't miss a beat, that has been practicing for such a long time that her mindset is the show must go on. And the funny thing is, I don't even think any of the fans even saw it or even knew, you know. But it just goes to show you that when you're at that level and you're a pro, you have to deliver. It's the paradigm, it's the mindset, it's getting prepared to be a professional. And it's really the preparedness, because I think certain people get into coaching, try to do what you and I are doing. And I tell people that I coach, the big difference in hiring Brad Blazer is you're not getting a bunch of books, you're not getting a bunch of CDs, you're not getting something you can download. Yes, there's all of that you're going to get, but what you're getting is you're getting me one-on-one every 2 weeks. We're talking just like we're talking now. You're getting coached. You're getting into my mind. You're getting connected to my network. You're getting connected to people that are in our community. And a lot of the coaches that are out there don't do that. They're just like, here are my books and tapes. Good luck. Hope it works. and you're looking at this big stack of stuff that you paid $1,297 for that's sitting on your desk that's not doing anything for you. It's really, like you said earlier, it's the engagement and it's the repetition, because I believe there's a big difference in being exposed to a concept or idea and actually through repetition grasping that concept and idea, where you're then able to share it with other people. In the Bible, there's something called the parable of talents. I don't know if you study the Bible or if you're religious about it, but it basically says that you get to a point where you're able to master a concept or a talent. And then the best way to really master that is to now teach somebody else that same talent, because it's through the educational process and teaching others that you actually increase your mastery of that concept or idea, which is really, really amazing. Well, let's wrap this up, David. Tell people a little bit about your ebook. I want to know a little bit about that and really what it delves into and what it focuses on, and more importantly, how people can actually get that from you if they're interested.
Yeah. Before we do that, can I just say one more statement?
Sure.
Yeah. So going back about rituals and everything, a good ritual that I've used is when I have a goal or anything, I use kind of like a vision board, and it's not outlandish or anything like that. If you're trying to lose weight, you really just post a picture with you, or if you gained weight, you post a picture that what you looked like or your ideal body, maybe crop your head on it. And that way, like you said, what we were talking about, that you have to change your self-image subconsciously in your paradigm, you start to see that beforehand, and then you take those actions. So this kind of speeds up the process. Instead of seeing the actions first, and then changing within, you're changing within while those actions are happening. And I think that's extremely powerful. Another thing is like I am affirmations. And instead of just sitting there and reading I am affirmations, if you recite them as you're doing movement, or you're walking, or you're doing push-ups, and maybe a lot of people don't want to do this, that's going to get in your nervous system, that's going to get in your body, and that's another way to change your self-image quicker, in a more quick fashion. So there's a lot of ways, to speed up the process, but I'm not saying don't be patient, but there is a lot of ways with this knowledge that we're sharing with each other to do that. So I just wanted to say that. And then my ebook. So my ebook it's called Win the Morning, Win the Day, Win Your Life. And it basically goes into the exact routine that I use. We were talking about routines for my morning, health, wellness wise, routine wise, habits wise, exactly what I do, mindfulness, movement, everything through the end of the day. How do I get ready? How do I set intention at the end of the day? How do I pre-frame myself? And then as you do all these habits, it all adds up and it compounds like we were talking about. And to get this ebook, you just have to go to my Instagram. You can find me at the Dana Silvestri. That's TheDanaSilvestri. So that's Dana Silvestri on Instagram, also on Facebook. You can also go to thedanasilvestri.com as well.
Fantastic. I'll put it in the notes for you so that when it goes up and it's posted, there'll be a link there that actually goes to your different social media profiles. This has been fantastic. I want to thank you so much for being part of our community, being part of our tribe. I think you
Brad,
really shared a lot of great things today, a lot of great ideas, a lot of great thoughts on really just how to overcome limiting beliefs and self-doubt, because, that's really, for most people, what's holding them back from greater success in life. It's being brought up in a society or in a household where they're told this is what's expected of you. And I always tell people that, it's very challenging to be fearful of failure. It's very challenging to be fearful of the new business venture you're wanting to start not working out successfully. But really the biggest fear most people have is the judgment of other people. It's, if I do this and this doesn't work, what are my parents going to think? Or what will my siblings think? Or what will my good friends think? And that's really, when you start unpacking things, the biggest fear that most people have that holds them back. And once you realize that you're the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with, and you start looking around you, you start to realize that's where you are in life. And so if you start on the journey of elevating yourself to bigger thought leaders and people obviously that are earning more and making more, what it does is it exposes you to bigger thoughts. And you start realizing, well, maybe there is more potential inside me than I initially thought there was. And if I start doing these things, and if I start putting some motion behind it and some activity behind it, what then potentially can I accomplish? And the great thing is that once you start putting motion behind it and you start chipping away, it's like climbing a mountain, right? The fact that you've got 3 coaching clients you're going, because now you know if I've got those 3, man, I'm just a short step away from 5. And then boom, when I get 5, I'm a short step away from 10. And then when you get 10, it just starts to cascade, because now hopefully you're asking for referrals. The people that are starting to see some results maybe are now sharing your name and what you're doing with other people that they're connected to. And before you know it, it just continues to grow and it just continues to escalate. But I want to thank you so much. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Yep.
And Brad, just one more thing. Sorry to interrupt. So I have a mastermind that's coming out, and I'm going to release the date. That's the major thing of why my full focus is not on coaching right now. Obviously it is, but I'm not looking to get more clients unless after this I will be. But it's called the Momentum Mastermind, and touch bases basically on everything we just went over. It's going to help people get clarity on their goals, on their why, on their own ones. It's going to go through routines and processes, how to do that, tools on how to track that. And it's going to do exercises throughout there to set real ones. So not other people's. And then it's going to help you on how to save time, how to save money, and because a lot of people are struggling at time, and that's a big excuse for people. And it's not that you don't have enough time. Everyone has 24 hours. So it's how you're managing your time. I'm going to jump into a tool with that. Then I'm going to jump into finding out your big thing that you need to overcome. Like, for example, mine was public speaking, and I ended up doing stand-up comedy based on this tool. So it's going to go through the tools that I got from Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Bob Proctor, as well as my own. So just stay tuned on my Instagram, and I'll release more information on that. And I also have my free one-on-one strategy calls that they can check out. Thank you.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much, Dana.